Nothing spells out the clear difference between Trump 2.0 and his first term in office more than the military parade Trump wants to honor him. In his first term, Trump saw how dictators used military parades to honor themselves and decided he wanted one too. Problem was, his own Secretary of Defense and top-ranking military commanders were opposed to it. Heavy-duty military equipment like tanks is damaging to most paved roads. So who's going to stop him this time? Pete Hegseth? Are you kidding? Hegseth is going to put himself on the first tank. Now that Trump is surrounded by sycophants, there are no guardrails, and he is acting like a dictator every chance he gets. I'm going to talk about his latest dictator move. First, let's listen to Trump himself talking about all the things he's going to do so that he holds all the power. And I want to tell you first, this is not AI. This is right out of the mind of Trump. Scary, I know. But I'll just let the wannabe dictator speak for himself before I talk about his latest move.
My plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all, and corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives.
So there he is in the making, our own little pathological narcissist licking his chops to become Orange Julius Caesar. And what does it take to become the kind of dictator Trump wants to be? First, you have to control the military and the police. Check. Next, you have to control the courts and the judiciary. Hello, immunity ruling? Check. Not to mention threatening and extorting big law firms into submission. You know, the kinds of law firms that sue the DOJ, or at least go head-to-head with them in court. Then you have to control the government and the legislature. Check. No more Republicans, only MAGA politicians. Then you have to control the universities. So thanks for helping move that part along, Columbia University. The board at Columbia are the only people in the world who could not see that if they caved, it was going to get worse for them and everybody else. The only thing left to control now is the media. Now, we all know Fox is subservient to Trump, but he wants to control all of it in order to prevent any criticism of his orangeship. Enter CBS's multi-Emmy award-winning show, 60 Minutes. Now, Trump has been begging for an excuse to go after CBS ever since Kamala Harris did a great interview on 60 Minutes and demolished Trump. He's even tried to sue them. Well, last night, CBS did a story on President Zelensky, who described the horror that the citizens of Ukraine are subject to, and held Putin accountable for the carnage. Trump rage posted like he's never rage posted, but this time he started throwing his considerable weight around and is trying to close CBS down. Trump posted this. Almost every week, 60 Minutes, which is being sued for billions of dollars for the fraud they committed in the 2024 presidential election with their interview of failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris, mentions the name Trump in a derogatory and defamatory way. But this weekend's broadcast tops them all. They did not one, but two major stories on Trump, one having to do with Ukraine, which I say is a war that would never have happened if the 2020 election had not been rigged. In other words, if I were president. And the other story was having to do with Greenland, casting our country, as led by me, falsely, inaccurately, and fraudulently. Now, that part, you have to admit, is true. Trump is leading falsely, inaccurately, and fraudulently. Anyways, back to his post. I am so honored to be suing 60 Minutes, CBS Fake News, and Paramount over their fraudulent, beyond recognition reporting. They did everything possible to illegally elect Kamala, including completely and corruptly changing major answers to interview questions. But it just didn't work for them. They are not a news show, but a dishonest political operative simply disguised as news and must be responsible for what they have done and are doing. They should lose their license. Hopefully, the Federal Communication Commission, FCC, as headed by its highly respected chairman Brendan Carr, will impose the maximum fines and punishment, which is substantial, for their unlawful and illegal behavior. CBS is out of control at levels never seen before, and they should pay a big price for this. Make America great again. So, okay, Trump being the mob boss that he is, Brendan Carr knows that was a direct message and that he's being told what to do. This is not a hope that Trump holds dear to his shriveled little heart. This is a direct order. And this is the biggest point of all. Now that there are no guardrails, Trump can go after the media by threatening their license. And the big media organizations, well, they already appeased him once when he shook them down. I think there was a lesson there. Going after their license, though, that sets a very alarming precedent. It's possible you might actually see corporate media stand up to Trump. What he needs more than anything else, though, is for corporate media to take a swing and land one right between the eyes. That's how you deal with bullies. There's a lot of really creative people within the big three. Somebody ought to be able to figure out how. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.